Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Come on in as we are taking on our November CAYA 2023 topic, cuffing season. What's the end goal? Being young, Christian, and dating. I want to thank my co-laborers here with me tonight, Junior, Janae, Ashley, and Jeffrey, for talking about such a great discussion tonight. It should be an interesting one, y'all. What y'all think?
It's going to be an interesting conversation.
You ready?
Let's go.
Well, as we get ready, let's go ahead and pray our way in first, and then we're going to get started with our first talking point. So let's bow for a word of prayer. God, we come before you right now just to say thank you. God, thank you for allowing us to gather on tonight to discuss a great topic. God, we ask that you be among this discussion. God, allow your presence to be glorified. God, we thank you for what you have done today. Thank you for getting us here to this space safely. God, for all of our viewers, thank you for guiding them today. God, for them, allow them to hear something that resonates with them. God, allow us to speak to people on today. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 So cuffing season.
Cuffing
season.
Being young, Christian, and dating. It's kind of a topic that we don't really like to talk about that much here in church. But because we're young adults and we like candid conversations, we're going to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So y'all ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Let's dive in. So our first talking point is, because a lot of people do not know what cuffing season is, I'm not going to lie, just last month I found out that cuffing season was literally a season. Yeah, I know. But I want to invite first my brother over here, Jeff, to give us some definitions of cuffing season.
All right. So I pulled some of these, and so while you're in the chat, if you want to drop what you think cuffing season is in the chat, kind of let us know your ideas and what you think, your definitions, and we'll read some of those off. But I'm going to give you a few definitions for what we grabbed online, and then we'll kind of go around and go from there. So when the weather is cold, the thirst is real, and you need a bathe. That is cuffing season.
Well.
The cold autumn and winter months seen as a period when it's especially desirable to enter into a romantic relationship. That is cuffing season. Cuffing season is a social phenomenon that carries some negative connotations because it suggests people handcuff themselves to a partner out of necessity or desperation. They were kind of deep on this, made me feel bad about my time back in the day. But there's no shame in wanting a relationship when the days are dark and cold. In fact, there's some very biological reasons for wanting to hold someone close during this time. That's some definitions. So
I think those were good.
I thought they were pretty good too.
They were so good.
The last one made me feel kind of.
I feel like the only thing that I could probably add to that is like, cuffing season's that time because, it's the fall, but we're entering into holiday season. So who wants to really be alone during Thanksgiving? I want to bring Boo home, meet the family for Thanksgiving. But then, the other important part is Christmas. Am I going to get a Christmas gift?
Exactly.
Right. Matching pajamas.
Right. Are we going to get matching pajamas? Those kinds of things. And so I think I would probably add that to the list of cuffing season.
What do the lonely do at Christmas?
What do
the
the
song
lonely
is,
do?
right?
That's a classic. That's a
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna need y'all to jump in. So you said the pajamas, right?
Yes.
Expound what you think about, definition of cuffing season.
Oh, that's a great question. I think that I agree wholeheartedly with what Jeffrey's already kind of said. I think that it's a time to be able to have a good time with someone during the winter months without commitment a lot of times. I think that some people cuffing does mean commitment, but for others it's a good time. They're here for a good time and not a long time.
Hey.
Right.
I think that, okay? I think that the pajama season is real. I think that for me, that's something I've heard a lot with kind of like a signal that you are committed to somebody is y'all made it to pajamas and y'all made it to social media in your pajamas.
Hey.
Yes, and definitely to try to, just piggyback off of what you were saying, I think it's important to define what cuffing season means to you.
Correct.
Right.
Because if you don't have a definition for yourself, how can you set expectations from others? So it's just interesting to know, how do we all define cuffing season? And sometimes if you don't have an idea, that's totally fine. But this is the time to kind of figure out what exactly are you looking for during this season.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, I think also I really, really resonate with that. I think also it's about setting healthy boundaries. Because
Yeah.
I think that
Yes.
sometimes we can go into it expecting it just to be casual,
Yeah.
but somebody is destined to catch some feelings.
Right.
So I think
Hey.
that something I would love to see in the cuffing season is folks kind of talking more about how do we set healthy boundaries that work for us and they're not rooted in social media, TikTok, and other, modalities that are trying to tell us how we should go through cuffing season.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
good.
I want to engage one comment in the chat. It's from Kelly Ogle. She's somebody who's watching us on YouTube, and she says, it means I'm keeping my options open until the best candidate proves themselves to officially be cuffed.
I like it, Kelly.
Kelly.
I like it, Kelly.
I want you to pin that comment
Hey.
because
Yes.
we're going to come back to that, right? But it doesn't
Yes.
mean to be worthy, okay? But we ain't there yet. But Kelly, I think you do give a absolutely great thought. And something that Junior said, right? It depends on how, right, you define cuffing. Some people want short term. Some people want long term. I'm more long term. I don't like short term. I don't need you here just for the winter. Yeah, so that's how I define it. But thank
Eric
you all
trying
so
to get
much.
cuffed.
man.
You want to be chosen for the
I
long
want to be
time.
chosen, yeah.
Right.
So to move into that, because you said chosen.
Right.
So now let's move into talking about how do you choose or how do you get chosen?
Right.
Ah.
Yeah.
I think what Junior is saying, you have to first things first, is deciding what you want your cuffing season to look
Right.
like. Deciding what you want your relationship status to look like. Is this a short time? Is this a fun time? Or is this a long time? A lot of people be making long times what should have been a fun time.
Right.
I think I saw something on social media on Instagram the other day, and it was just basically saying, a short-term situation is not necessarily, a bad thing, but it's something to let you know what you don't want. And so this could be your season where you're figuring out what you want, what you don't want, and then and you can move forward from that. But I think the first things first is you deciding what you want it to be, and then communicating that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think something else I've thought about that I've been going through is the concept of you attract what you're ready for. And so I've had to learn that I was attracting kind of some folks that needed some mothering. And so I realized that is a thing within the Black community where, you get with someone and initially starts out really great and then you start noticing some pieces and you're like, oh my gosh, I really want this person to change this or that. They're not changing it. So you start doing, wife things that, serving almost like a wife in a relationship that's not even a real thing. And so I think that for me, it's really important to make sure that you're learning from your past circumstances that you've had and using that to inform where you're going in this particular cuffing season. Because sometimes we'll make the same mistake 4 or 5 times before we have the understanding that maybe we need to change course this particular cuffing season.
Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty interesting. As I was doing this, pulling all these things offline, it goes back to, it gave some 9 rules for cuffing season.
Okay.
The first one,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
was what you said. It said, don't cuff your ex. And I was
Oh.
like, hold up. I felt like they were talking to me at one point. Hold
Spinning
up,
the
we
block.
talking
Do
about-
not
yeah, don't
spin the
spin
block.
Yeah.
Do not
That's right.
spin the block.
Yeah, it is keep your focus, make your own rules, like Julia said, stick to your rules, cuff responsibly. Summer flings are not winter cuffs.
We gotta talk about that.
Don't play games, be attentive, and if you don't want your friends to know, be discreet. Right?
Yeah.
So
A sneaky link, he
right,
said.
yeah.
Somebody you
But
can't
can
stick
the
around.
sneaky remain sneaky? I think that's what I've been seeing lately is, folks will start off saying, oh, I'm cool with this man sneaky links, but then you starting to get messages about, oh, where you at? Oh, I saw you at this place or that place. So I think for me, it's making sure that if you're going to be a sneaky link, defining what sneaky link means,
There you
because it
go.
means different things to different people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why do y'all think? So this another question. Why do y'all think? Because we see what happens. You know what you want, right? And then you go into it, but then you change up. Why do you think people change up?
I mean, I feel like it could be the vibe. Like, sometimes if you do meet some people and you are meshing and, the attraction is there or, the conversation is there, then I think that it's, really just the vibe. So, but also being able to communicate that, saying, hey, this is what I feel, again, setting those boundaries and saying, hey, I would feel some type of way if you do talk to someone else or, I want to take it serious. Like, what's the next steps and what does that look like for us? And then kind of navigating from that.
Right. And being okay with he said or she said, this was just a sneaky link. This was just a, a good time.
Mhm.
We was having fun. That's what guys like to say. We was having fun.
Having
Yeah,
fun.
they love that.
But
Yeah.
it's like guys can say that because they have be dating you haven't set those boundaries and
Right.
saying like hey I want to take it to the next level, but learning how to communicate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, I agree. You get those feelings, right? It's just it's the feelings thing. We have some people in the comments saying those feelings, they get too real, right? And so that's why it's always so important that you have that communication. You're talking, even during that time, you're having that real. Because if you're catching feelings, and I'm still trying to catch flights, then maybe perhaps I'm still
Right.
trying to head off somewhere.
Right.
You might not be the one beside me. So I think it's always important that you really have those conversations because emotions, H-Town, I don't know if y'all know, y'all may not know that.
Oh,
but
Lord.
H-Town, so emotions make you cry sometimes. So I'm just
Okay,
telling you,
okay.
you got to make sure that you're having those real conversations when it comes down to those feelings because it's real. Feelings are real.
Yeah.
So.
And I think people have to be okay with not getting the response that they
Correct.
want.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Exactly.
so often, we get into it, it's one thing. Feelings do come because it's a thing. And when that person says, nah, this is what I'm looking for, and then that mothering thing is like, oh no, but you need a good woman.
I'ma
You
stick
need this.
beside you.
I'ma do this and I'ma show him.
Yeah.
Right.
He need me. And next thing you know, he kept telling you he don't want you.
Yeah.
And you still chasing after this person that then already said, we a sneaky link, we just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think too, something that I've seen a lot with my generation of folks is we love the idea of the person but can't accept the reality. And so I think that's a big shift that you see with a lot of folks
Right.
is you start out loving the idea of who this person is,
Right.
but once you start learning those different little quirks, you realize I can't stand to be with this person.
Right.
Yet, one person is always destined to catch feelings.
Right.
And so it becomes very hard to kind of disconnect when one person thinking y'all going steady and the other person's like, I just want to get out of here.
Right.
Right.
And that's how people end up in jail.
Yeah.
That's
On
how
snap.
On snap.
y'all get restraining orders now.
Right.
Right.
Y'all being
Right.
crazy. But I want to talk specifically now to Jeff and Ashley because you all are married, right?
Yes.
So what was that like for you all, right? Choosing your partner. What was it about them? And when they speak about, them choosing you, what was it about you all that, got y'all chose?
I let you go.
Okay.
I let you.
Okay.
He been married longer
I've
than
been
me.
married longer.
He
than
been
him.
married
I've been
longer.
married long. We just
So I'm gonna let
celebrated.
you go.
Yeah. Okay. So really, I always equate this to I had a good friend of mine, a partner of mine, and so he sends me this picture one time, and he's like, it's a picture of the little toilet roll, empty, and I'm like, what is this? And he was like, she got to go. I'm like, why? I don't know what this is.
What?
He was like, she don't never change toilet roll. And I was like, what are you talking about? Is that why she got to go? He said, let me tell you something. There's certain things I'm not willing to put up with.
Oh.
And so I thought about that, right? And as I was entering into, back into the dating scene after being in a relationship, and I started looking at things from that perspective and that lens. What are the things I'm willing to put up with and the things I'm not? Like, what are my, like, clear points, right? But I had to also sit down and do some checking with myself.
Oh yeah.
Right?
It's that part.
Because making sure that these are not just not nitpicking things, but like the toilet roll thing didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But that was him. For him that was. But I thought about how nitpicky he was. But I was like, if you're gonna be with somebody for long term, these are boundaries. There are things that I put in place, right, to make sure that I'm okay with certain things, but I'm not okay with other things. And that's just it. It just was what it was, right? Now, are there some things that still, get on your nerve? Of course, that happens. It's a relationship. But I think having those boundaries, knowing who you are, and then also, for me, because of my relationship with Christ, there was just some things that was non-negotiable.
Right.
That it was just a non-negotiable thing. Making sure that we had those conversations about that. I'll say this and I'll turn over to Ashley. There was as I was in the dating scene, there was a young lady who said to me, she did not ever think that Jesus Christ could be her father. Never. She could never. Her father was too good to her.
Oh,
For her
wow.
to ever see Jesus Christ as her father. There's no point in me trying to convince you.
No.
Right.
Leave that alone.
You know what? I appreciate your time,
Yeah.
but I'm moving on. And I think it was just. I know some people might say, well, that's kind of harsh. It's not harsh. It's reality when I'm looking for long term. That's my
Right.
goal at this time in my life.
Right.
So yeah, so that for me, that's kind of was my, where I was at. So,
Yeah. I think for me that was good. Shout out to Mary.
That's
It's
right.
boo,
Yeah,
boo.
boo.
Yes, for me it was intentionality, right? And so I got married. I don't even know how old I was when I got married. 33. But I started dating my husband. Hey, Tori, hey, Pooh. At 30, and when I met him, I was like, okay, I'm gonna be intentional. Cause again, I was one of those girls who's like, I'm gonna make him love me. I'm gonna make him know that I'm his wife. And when those things don't happen, it was like, okay, well, what you kind of self check. What did I do wrong? But sometimes it's just he's just not that into you, right? And that's fine. That's okay, because that's not to say that somebody else isn't gonna be for you. But I knew for me, when I got back out there on that dating scene, I knew that I was looking for a husband.
Right.
So a lot of girls don't like to ask this question, but on the first, second date, what's your plans? What you want out of this? And a lot of girls will be like, oh, that's too soon. But for me, it was, I got enough guy friends. I don't need no more guy friends. I need a husband. And so if he couldn't say, hey, I want to be married in X amount of time, not saying that you have to marry me, but was marriage a goal for him? If he couldn't have that conversation about, hey, this isn't a sneaky link, this isn't, a cuffing season, just for a little bit, but I'm actually looking for my wife. If he wasn't coming with that, then I wasn't talking to him. Now, I went on a lot of dates, and, sometimes I did not receive what I wanted to hear, but that meant you got to be on the block list. I was block list strong.
Okay.
Listen, you ain't talking about what I want to talk about. You text me at 11 o'clock. You ain't talking about taking me on a date. You over there talking about, good morning, queen, and you ain't got no plans. Listen, you ain't got no plans for me. Block list. I was block list strong. My friends was like, girl, you ain't give him a chance. No. And so sometimes that meant my phone was dry. Sometimes that meant when I got off for work in my weekends, I wasn't busy. I didn't have any dates. I wasn't, somebody wasn't texting me because I had put them on the block list. They might have been trying to text me, but I wasn't participating. And so I know people talk about Sierra's prayer. What was Sierra's prayer to get that? But my prayer was, God, if this is for me, open that door so wide that I have no choice but to walk through it. And if it's not, shut that door so tight that I cannot even open it. And I remember I prayed that prayer, and the guy who I thought was supposed to, be that, he moved to the other side of the town, the other side of the country, and didn't call me, didn't text me. So I was like, okay, got it, God. And when I met my husband, he wasn't perfect, and he still isn't perfect, but his willingness to try. When we got into an argument, younger argument meant we breaking up.
Right.
That's not what it was for him. It was more so like, okay, we got a problem. We got to work this thing out. Before we even got engaged, he was like, nah, we going to counseling. Because I like you. You mine, boo.
I know that's right.
We together. And so he was like, nah, we going to go to counseling. We going to work this thing out. And so it just showed me that he was intentional. He knew what he wanted, and he saw me for him in that future. And I was like, okay, I ain't never had a guy be this serious about me. And I was like, okay, let me tune in. Let me, focus on this. And, it's been almost 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is a good brother. Too.
Yes.
I'll say that. He's a good dude. She bring this up there, bring him around your friends if it's long term.
Right.
If
Yeah.
it's long term, don't bring him around me.
You bring up new people.
Especially don't keep bringing different people to the Thanksgiving dinner because girl
Don't
gonna
do
call you out. Ain't that the
Exactly.
same person from last year?
Right.
Yeah.
That ain't John.
Right.
So it sounds to me like you all were very clear about what you wanted, and you communicated that effectively. Now for you all, what are y'all non-negotiables, right? They talk about their non-negotiables. For you all, as y'all cuffing, I'm not saying y'all are not. What are y'all non-negotiables as you're choosing somebody?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, faith must be at the core or center of you. I recognize that you can have different levels of understanding around spirituality and faith, but I know for sure what role God serves in my life. And so it must be important that we can have those type of conversations, even if you're learning, evolving, etc. You still must have some conceptualization of that, because that's an important part of my life. Secondly, it's very important to have some emotional intelligence. I think that it's very important that you're able to regulate your emotion.
Yes.
So for me, I need to know that when you get upset, I need to know how you're going to respond. I need to know that you have the ability to be able to compromise. I think also for me, I am an assertive woman. I am a lovely woman, but I recognize that I can be a lot. And so I need someone that knows how to kind of manage an assertive woman that is goal-driven and ambition-oriented, who is going to go above the sky. The sky's not the limit. For me, is above the sky. So how do we both go above the sky together? But sometimes I've noticed that some guys are intimidated by that. And so I think that those are some things that are really important for me. And I'm a person that leads with love. So I need someone that understands how to be loving to folks, how to be a servant leader, how to really lean into being a part of our larger community. Because I don't want to always be the one going to service projects and you're like, oh, that's silly. Or I don't want to go. We have our own interests, but there's certain core things that we need to have as similarities to be equally good.
Right. I would say, this is just, being married. I love what you're saying. Like you said, you got to be intentional about what you want and what you're looking for. I don't want you to discount somebody that doesn't automatically, come with those things.
True.
My husband, he never do no volunteer, any service projects, but that was something that I was brought up. But when I, showed him, hey, this is what we're going to do, he was like, oh, okay, I can deal with that. I can do that. But at first he was like, why am I not volunteering, but why am I taking all my clothes to the Goodwill? Or why am I taking all my good clothes to the men's shelter? And it was just like, because they need it, babe. We got enough. You got enough. But he's like, but once he did it, it was a feel good moment for him. And so I was able to, get that thing. And also with your assertiveness, I mean, that's good. I love that. But sometimes you got to tone it down.
Correct.
Got to tone it down.
I agree.
Just a little bit. Don't not be yourself, though.
Yeah.
Be yourself always.
Yeah.
But just a little bit, just a little tidbit for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that wisdom. I think that for me, I'm a person that was raised on independence. So my dad was very big on that. I saw him be a really good role model in their marriage. They've been married over 30 years, and they're a great role model. The biggest thing my dad always said is always have your own. Like, I understand the role of a man, and I'm ready to have that soft girl era. I do not I do not want to control. Take that trash out. Do what you can to be supportive. I think for me, though, a lot of guys misinterpret that just by the way that I carry myself. That's why I like to be up front though and say, hey, I am a little more assertive.
Right.
Yeah, if you lead, oh baby, you can lead. You just gotta know how to lead. Because if you don't, I'm gonna put you in the track. Put you in the trunk of the car if you can't lead this thing. And then secondly, I agree about not having a ready-made man. I think my challenge is I tend to sometimes attract the guys who you got to do so much with.
Yeah.
And so that's a balancing act for me. That's where that mothering comes into play.
Right.
Because if you're doing too much, then it's like, are we equally yoked?
Yeah, don't do it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true, just being able to learn how to communicate. I think communication is key for me. Being able to kind of communicate your goals, your inspirations, and what do you want? That may not be what you have right now, but I think that's a great point to what you mentioned earlier, because I've missed so many partners because they didn't wear this, or they didn't drive this type of car, or what have you. And it's like, now that I'm getting older, it's like, okay, was it really that serious, or was I able to pour into each other? Can we pour into each other and grow and build and create goals and make longevity?
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, I think you all have said some marvelous things. I mean, really do thank you all for chiming in. I invite you all in the chat now. Tell us, if you want to, some of the things that are kind of non-negotiables for you, right? And we'll engage with you a little bit as time goes on, but just put in there, right, what are non-negotiables for you? What will you not take? Just some of that sort of stuff. I want to kind of move now, because I think in this time period, I think we all know dating is kind of shifting. And I think the question of what's the end goal is very relevant. It's like we don't know what the end goal is no more, right?
Yeah.
Less people are getting married, and there's more divorces for those who are married. Yeah, I know.
Everybody breaking up.
Everybody breaking up.
Left and right.
The pandemic was brutal to a lot of people. It's like they came out of that pandemic, everybody just breaking up, everybody getting divorces. So now let's just kind of talk about this phenomenon. Jeff, you got your sheet over there with all your research.
Oh man, yeah,
What did it say?
It's talking about the really, because this is really dealing with just the cuffing, right? And so, but it's also talking about you also have to understand why you got into something, right? So, did you go into it? It really talks about that. There is a type of depression that's triggered by the changing of the season, is what it's saying. And so, typically this time of year, things start looking drabby, it gets darker, and all this other stuff. So, these things are happening, but a lot of times we don't realize it's also bringing on different things for us emotionally. And so, if you've not tapped into those different things, then you start to tend to take those different things, and you're looking for something to feel those emotions. Whereas in the summertime, it's bright out. Yeah, we outside. Matter of fact, we did a CAYA, we outside, right? Yeah, so we outside. We was outside, but now you inside and it's cold and it's, so it's a little different. So you want to make sure, for me, when you start talking about this, what's the end goal, you have to really be honest with yourself in what you're looking for. Is it a long term? Is it a short term? Is this just a time of year where I'm just really looking to cuddle up? It's cold outside, I want to bring, I just want to cuddle. I ain't really trying to do nothing else. I ain't trying to cook, clean for nobody. I don't even want you at my house. So it's things like that. You really got to start asking those type of questions. So when you say, what's the end goal? It's really that you have to be honest with yourself, because you cannot know what you're looking for, but then somebody else is looking for a long-term thing. You're looking for a short-term thing. And it can end up in a bad situation. You can find yourself with somebody knocking on your door in the middle of the night. And, so I would just say that if you be very clear on what you are looking for as far as what is your end goal. Yeah.
I think about my girlfriends that are in their mid-30s and they still ain't been chose. And what goes, talking about that depression and talk about that mental piece of it, because naturally, and what we've been used to socially is women have to wait to be chosen. And I think, but now today, things are shifting where girls are shooting the shots. They in the DMs. And I have no problem with that at all. But I think, for me personally, I wanted to be chosen. I wasn't going to be out there, in the dude's DMs I might like a picture. I might have liked a picture.
That's how
I might have made a comment. That was me shooting my shot. But for these girls nowadays, I don't. And you might have to talk about that, which y'all doing. But I think that depression and that mental health piece. When what do you do when you 35, 36? Your fertility clock is ticking and you want to build this family and you want to do these things, and the phone is dry because you said I'm sticking to this, but these guys are saying otherwise. So, but I don't know how y'all girls shooting y'all shot or not shooting y'all shot. I don't know how that's working.
All right. Well, the young gals like me in our late 20s, I think that I personally am of the same mindset of I want to get chosen. I'm not out here. Not. But I think that a lot of my friends are very much so of boosting you up. So they boost the cable and you say you like this person, go on in the DMs. They're not even, but the thing about it, I think is sometimes people don't think about the risk of doing that. In the sense of, some people don't post their relationship status on social media. And so it's very important that you're mindful of that. Also, you talked about this earlier. I think a lot of folks don't think about, what if this person says no? What if this person is not in a place where they want to engage in a relationship? So I see a lot of women who are developing increasing mental health concerns as a result of expectations that have been set by them or even the peanut gallery who are their friends. And so I think with my age group, it's a lot of, playing the field. As the person said in the comments earlier, may the best person win. I think for me, I'm like, well, how long do you do that? How long do you continue to let all these folks kind of pursue you? How long do you date? And when do you shift to intentional dating? And moving toward intentional to marriage kind of dating? I
think that's good. I tell girls or young ladies that, Don't be out here just seeing what we doing.
Yep.
You know, they like to say that. Well,
Yes,
we
they
just
do.
going with the flow. We just seeing. I mean, and that's fine. But if you have your mental deadline, you know, you stick to that. You don't have to say, hey, you need to wife me up in 3 months, or you need to propose to me in 1 year. But my mama told me, don't let these men waste your good years.
That's right.
Don't let these men waste your good years, and because they will use you up. I think it was, what's the guy, the singer, what's that man's name with the red hair? He just said that he was on the Shade Room. Well, he wasn't on the Shade Room, but the Shade Room had posted it. But he was basically saying that he felt so guilty and so shameful for all the girls that he wasted their times with.
I did see that.
I forgot his name.
Yeah.
And a new one did. Another person did this recent. Did you see? I think it was Nia Long and who was it, y'all?
Oh, was it Jeezy?
Coach.
Jeezy.
Yeah.
That I've seen that. Sorry, I could crush you.
No,
I've
you're fine.
seen that trending, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, you know, sometimes you don't get the closure you need, or sometimes you don't get that kind of apology. And I think that a lot of women are waiting in the wings to get that expected apology.
Right.
So I think the biggest piece now is, you know, how do you move forward even when you don't have closure? Because a lot of women, they're not able to see or move toward the next thing that may be there for them because they're caught up in the ex.
Yeah.
Or they're caught up in someone many moons ago
Right.
who never gave them that sense of closure.
So, go ahead, Junior.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask. So is it like the other person's responsibility to provide that closure at that point?
I don't think it's a responsibility to necessarily provide closure. I think that is why I'm a strong proponent of therapy, making sure also that you have support networks. If you're not in therapy, support networks where you can kind of talk through and reason those emotions. Because a lot of times you haven't done the self-work. I think that you're seeking that closure, but in tandem, if you get that closure, what does it do? That's what I tell a lot of folks is, you know,
still don't move
sometimes
on.
you just want that closure just because the pride piece. But I think that it's a bigger conversation of healing. Have you taken the time to actually heal through those emotions, even without the closure? Because I will tell you, I don't think I've ever had closure. But I think that I had to learn the importance of kind of processing those emotions so I wouldn't take that into the next kind of relationship.
I think it's also validation.
Yeah.
You want to be validated that you did the best that you could do to be the best girlfriend, the best boyfriend.
Listen.
I did everything right.
Yeah.
And you was the one.
It was you.
It was you.
It wasn't
you
me.
messed it up. And so sometimes I think it's that validation piece that people are looking for. But boo, you got to move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't be waiting for no
Yeah.
closure. The only thing you need to close your door.
Hello.
Close your door. That's
Hello.
it. You want to
Yes.
close your door and
Yeah.
move on. Ain't no need
Yes.
for waiting for folk to apologize for. Listen, if you know you've done what you're supposed to do, just listen. It is what it is. If they give it, then that's on them.
Yeah.
But I can't be responsible for what other people do. I can only be responsible for how I do things,
Right.
how I work through things. And like you said, you know, you may need Jesus and a therapist.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it
There you
is,
go.
you know.
Okay.
So, you know, you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah,
So,
and I think also with family members. I think that's something I've also seen is sometimes when people are in relationships, they get connected also to the family of the person they're with. And so I've seen some family members play some not so great roles in trying to encourage you to hold on to things that don't need you, that need to miss you. And so I think that that's something that in Black communities I've seen a lot of. And I'm really curious of y'all thoughts about, like, how do you manage that when you have your expectations, but your families have, you know, expectations of you too in terms of relationships and cuffing and all that.
Ooh, that's y'all looking at me. You know.
So I
We looking at
I'm
it.
yeah.
you think, dude? What you think?
No,
I ain't got,
good.
I ain't got here to answer these type of questions.
Sorry, I think we're deeply, y'all.
Right, now, just to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying earlier, I think it goes back to self-care. Like, I think that it's really important for self-care, and you know, that's becoming a thing now, and that's not just like getting your nails done, getting your hair. I mean, those are nice, but sometimes it's just all about you reading a book or you staying in a quiet room to where you can ask yourself those mental questions to where you can create closure for yourself, because sometimes you do place that responsibility on your ex-partners, and then now you're still being a victim to that relationship,
like
and you're
that.
not
Yeah.
able to kind of close that chapter to create something else. So that's a really great question.
Yeah.
You got
I'm
me
laughing at
Yeah, we got to chew on that. We got to
No,
chew
that
on
was
that.
good. I'm laughing at these comments, y'all.
comments
Y'all
great.
crazy.
Yeah.
What the comments saying?
Y'all crazy. I like these just K non-negotiables.
Yeah.
I like that. Have made progress towards your plans. Are you in debt?
That's a big one.
Are you okay
right.
with making payments?
Okay.
Then are you usually fail at relationships?
Okay.
Okay, so what are you doing different
Yes.
this time? Just K, you are exactly right. These are the questions that need
Yes.
answers, and do not wait to ask them.
Yes, we
And
don't
if
need
it's
to
in the
repo
season,
man.
If it's
Right.
in the season, don't co-sign. Listen, if it's in the season, don't co-sign. Just know that.
Listen.
If this is a season, don't be co-signing for nobody.
Nuh-uh.
It's long term.
Leave that
alone.
That's right. Even if you dating, even
Right.
if you engaged, don't co-sign. I'm working
Right.
in finance, where I'm just letting y'all know. I see
Listen,
it all the time.
But so quickly, because I know we're running out of time. You know, we are in these gender wars right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand it, y'all. But y'all, who was the lady? It was Ebony K. Williams. She got in trouble because she wasn't gonna be with the bus driver
Oh.
because you
Yeah,
had
sorry.
because
Yeah,
you know because you
standard,
had
right.
to had to make a certain amount of money and had to be able to provide. I guess we were saying what the gender wars are saying. Women don't want to cook and clean no more. But men also, women are looking for men to, pay for everything and buy everything. What's y'all thoughts?
I struggle with that.
Okay.
And the reason I struggle with that, though my parents are more old school, I would say in certain respects, my parents were very much of compromise. It was a very 50-50 type situation. Well, never 50-50, let me be honest. That's green. It's never exactly 50-50, but it was comparable. And there was a compromise to where my dad would cook, my mom would cook, he would clean. It was a balance to where now I'm like, you want me to do what? We are going to do this together.
right.
And so I think for me, I don't necessarily agree or subscribe to that just because I think that can be limiting to your relationship.
Yes.
You need to play on what is the skill set of your partners.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you don't want me in there burning stuff up. If you know that you are great, not to say I can't cook because I can do a little something, but if you want a certain quality of what you want, then you need to kind of articulate that because we also have certain parameters, so we know what we like. So if you know you like your food cooked a certain way, get on in there. You know you want the room vacuumed a certain way, do it. I can do it next time. So,
Right.
yeah.
You like your laundry done a certain kind of
You
way?
go ahead and do
You
it.
like changing the toilet roll? That's all
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying. You change it.
Well, if you flip it the right way.
Yeah,
though.
it's all about how you flip it. I see
Right.
people get mad about
Yeah.
that too. But I think that goes back to even with the family, what you said about earlier, that question that you asked, and that's why it's so important that you set boundaries even with your family, right? And then you
Yes.
also understand that you're two people who are entering into something.
Yeah.
So is this a season? Is this a long term? And then how does my family dynamic play into this? We're raised in two separate households. I'm from Myrtle Beach. My wife's from West Virginia. That is totally different, right? So it's you've got to make sure that you're having these conversations, that you're talking, that you're doing all these different things to make sure that we are, because it is at the end of the day. You say your parents 50-50, but it sounds to me like they were doing 100. Your father's giving 100, your mother's giving 100.
Yeah,
Here's the thing about giving 100. Some days I may only be able to give 60. It's been a long day at
Right.
work. I'm tired. I can only give 60%, but you know what? Because I've got the other person in here who's giving that 100.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, when they can't give the 100, guess what I'm giving? I'm giving the 100 because they can only
Right.
give 60 because
That's
they've
right.
been having a rough day.
Right.
So now let me cook, let me vacuum, let me wash clothes. And
Right.
so that's why it's so important that
And
you
that
have these
also
different things.
and that also comes with communication.
Yeah,
That's
effective.
how, yeah, it comes with communication.
Somebody said that in the
Because
chat too.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
look
key.
it
because
up.
sometimes, like me and my husband are learning that, hey, I might be at 50% today.
Yeah.
He might be at, he's at 70% today, and so we have to communicate. And we have a couples counselor. He'll say, check in and say, how's your day? And not just say good, but just say how you're actually feeling. I am
Right.
feeling
Right.
sad. I am feeling anxious. It's those types of communications that lets each other know that, okay, this is where my wife is feeling overwhelmed. Let me get in here to wash these dishes. Let's make sure that these kids is put to bed, and when she get home, they're not aggravating her. So, it's that kind of communication I think is really good that will go with that. And I think a lot of people look at the end goal of marriage like, what can this person do for me? But marriage is a ministry, which means we are serving. I have to think about, how can I serve my husband? My husband has to think of, how can I serve Ashley? How can we serve our family to make sure? And when you go into it thinking like, okay, well, he got this bill, or he's going to do this, or he's going to do that, I think that's where people, these gender wars come in. It's like, okay, I'm expecting her to do all the cooking and the cleaning.
Right.
I'm expecting him to pay all these bills, but not looking at it like, okay, you know what, he ain't that good at cooking and cleaning. Let me get in here. I'm not going to be mad because the dirty socks is in the living room. let me just pick them
I need to
socks
be
up.
clean.
let me just pick the socks up. It is he ain't putting it down there because he, I'm gonna put these on the floor because Ashley Ashley hate them. But it's like, okay, this is what he gonna do. Let me just go and pick these up and go and put them in the laundry basket, and then it's over. It's done. It's compromise.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that something I've thought about with relationships is all about assessment, reflection, and adjustment. I think that those are the things that I think that if more people would apply that into their relationships, it would kind of create more of a effective communication.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of eliminate some of the challenges that we see in certain relationships.
Say that again, because I feel like you need to say that.
Right.
Again. I feel
Sure,
like that's a
3-point
tweet.
statement.
Yeah, she did. She's right. I feel like that's a tweet.
Yes, it is. Assessment, reflection,
reflection.
and adjustment.
I like
Assessment,
it.
reflection, and
I like
adjustment.
it.
I love that. Yeah. Look at that.
We love a little mnemonic now.
Yes.
Drop that in there. Right. Mic drop on that.
Assessment, reflection, and adjustment.
That's it.
It's in the chat, y'all. Look
Yes.
It's
at it.
in the chat.
All right, y'all. So now let's move, right? We've been talking about effective communication, right? That's so important.
Yeah.
Shara said it in the chat, right? We got Just K, Kelly in there just saying all types of stuff. Thank you, Kelly, for participating.
Kelly.
But now let's talk about some of the dangers of cuffing season. Like, what are some of those red flags that is there, and we might just kind of ignore it?
I was, there's one that comes to mind. I tell you, it was, when I was out on the dating scene, there was one that came to mind. It was really, I talked about the other one, but this one was really crazy because it was like a week out. Like, I've been kicking it maybe a few weeks. It was cold, and I was going to Atlanta to visit my brother. And it's like, hey, my family lived there too. Okay. Let's ride together.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
Uh-oh.
It was, you could drop me off with my parents and come meet them. And I was like, we're not.
Oh no.
We not there.
We're not there. To me, that was a red flag.
Okay.
Right? To me, that was
Mathing.
Look. And always had the Rev title, just so y'all know. But anyway. But yeah, I was like, what? It was a red flag because we hadn't even talked about that. Right. We hadn't even been there like that. Like, it was nothing. And you talking about going to meet your family? No. I think my Thanksgiving ain't gonna go where it's supposed to go at. I ain't want to tell the truth. But yeah, you can't ride with me.
Yeah.
For me, that was a red flag. I don't know if, how y'all take that. For me, it was, and I just, I took it as it was. So see things as they are, right? Don't try to make things, because in my mind, I could have made it work, but I already knew, right? So see things as they are. Stop trying to. You see the red flag, and then you try to ignore it, or you try to say maybe it's not that. Maybe I'm tripping. Right. You ain't tripping. You got a relationship with God. If you got a relationship, tap into the Spirit. The Holy Spirit. Yeah. The Spirit says she asking for a ride, Jeffrey. It's more than that. I was like, okay, well, Jesus, let me leave her on the bus stop because you can't ride with me.
All right.
These red flags have you thinking you at the circus now.
Okay. Okay. I think also for me, it's the concept of comparison. So I've had some situations where, you supposed to be talking to me, but you talking about who you was with. Or you talking about the other people that you have in rotation. And so I'm like, I don't need to know you have a starting five lineup.
Oh, wow.
I really don't need to know those pieces unless it's impacting our dynamic. I think that's one of the things that really stands out to me. And then secondly, I think it's also the times of night when you're reaching out. So you only reaching out in the evening. We're not able to be seen in public. I think that's something that's also. And then thirdly, I think for me is if you're not willing to kind of have any sense of commitment or set any type of expectations for our dynamic. I'm not going to say relationship because it could be a dynamic.
Right.
But you are very much so shying away from anytime I want to bring up where we're going, what we're doing with this relationship. You quick to kind of change the direction into another place to the point where I'm feeling like I'm being gaslit or other things.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, like narcissistic ways.
Yes.
That's definitely a red flag for me. Like, if you have me believing that the sky is green, like, I almost believe it. Like, just trying to, like, make me think that I'm going crazy. I think that that's something that you should really, have, like, a red flag. It's basically like a red flag for me because it's, definitely not an opportunity for you to kind of, like, be able to be yourself.
Right.
And, like, let those walls down and let those boundaries down to allow someone in because
Right.
they're going to kind of use something against you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think somebody put in the chat like aggressive behavior or
Oh, yeah.
always, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm coming back and I'm sorry. And then you see it happen again and then I'm sorry. Listen, these are the things Lifetime movies are made of. You see
Right.
this and they got to keep coming back saying, I'm sorry. We got a problem.
Right.
Don't ignore those signs up front, right? It might be a season and you might need to just go ahead and end that season right there. It
Right.
might need to be done in that season early because,
Right.
aggressive behavior, things like that, those things change very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself getting restraining orders and all kind of stuff moving, cutting off your Facebook page. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just, you got to be very careful in this time of this digital age, especially.
Right.
And the signs are there, don't ignore them.
Right.
And,
And your spidey senses. If your spidey senses is going off,
Intuition.
and your intuition, it's the Holy Spirit, is saying, that ain't it. I mean, move on. Because a lot of people be out here stuck, looking like Boo Boo the Fool at the circus because they was looking at these red flags, thinking that, it's a party, we at the circus, and next thing you know, your cuffing season turned into marriage with a fool, and you out here looking like a fool with a fool husband.
And if you ain't sure, ask your mama or your cousins
yes.
or your sister. They'll
Right.
tell you. They will let you know. Fellas, I'm telling you now, just tell them what's going on and they will let you know.
Yeah.
Hold up, brother Jeff. Hold up, brother Jeff. Sometimes their relationships may not be a good model. So I will ask a
I ain't
trusted.
saying look at this, because normally they'll tell you to do
Right.
what they won't do.
Yeah, you're not
They
wrong.
won't let go of this.
You're
but they'll
not
tell you,
wrong.
"No, that's-"
You know what? You're not wrong.
And I think it's so important because sometimes, whenever you are dating, most people just show the representative. Like they don't really show you
Yes.
how they argue or how they deal with stress or, how do they communicate. So I think that most times they show you what they want you to see. And whenever you are dating, you do have the opportunity to kind of really peel back the onion.
Right.
Get the layers. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a friend of mine told me when you're dating, the best way to find out about somebody's finances is take a trip with them. It don't have to be far. It don't have to be far. And y'all
to the
can
Biltmore,
and
y'all.
right take them to the Biltmore. Take them to the
yet.
That
Biltmore.
ain't that far.
But 2 hours up the road. But take a trip with them and you can see how they handle their finances. So
I don't do the red roofing. No.
Oh no.
No.
I don't wait. Yeah.
I done got in a Quality Inn situation before. Never tell my never. And now a Hilton Honors member myself.
Yeah.
So I don't have to fool with your Red Roof Inn behind.
So yeah, take a trip with somebody so you can see how their finances are and see how that works.
They cancel the day before the trip.
Right.
But
So
they
they
supposed to
cancel.
put their half in.
Right.
Or they get all the way, like, I don't know if y'all saw this, I'm gonna be quick. On TikTok, this girl sent her and the guy got on the trip, and he had just enough to get on the trip, but could not afford to be there and couldn't afford to get back home. He had only booked a one-way, turns out.
One what?
Sir. People are not
So now
well.
y'all
They're
know.
not well.
Check the
People
ticket.
are
How you
not
gonna check
well.
the tickets before you go?
When's your seat number coming back?
You buy me, we on the same road? Okay.
Right. What seat you in? That way I can put my seat beside yours. If
Right.
you got your seat number, we can't go together.
Right.
And now we can't even go to Cheesecake Factory no more.
Oh.
We can't go to Cheesecake.
They got a lot of options.
This is my
Yikes.
theory. This is my theory. I think sis had dressed up so pretty and
Okay.
so nice. And I think she was embarrassed to walk into Cheesecake Factory looking the way that she was looking.
I look good on the inside.
Listen, we are like the Cheesecake Factory, but the thing, it varies. You know, you might have somebody come in there with prom with a gown on, with a nice sexy dress on, or you might have somebody like me coming there with the scrubs on. And so I think for her, she was expecting, Ruth Chris, Morton's, Steak 48. I think that's what she was expecting, but she just she didn't communicate. She was embarrassed, and she was also like the man told her, girl, you a whole hour late. And so the reservation that he initially planned was gone. So y'all had to go to the Cheesecake Factory, but she should have just said, hey, I'm gonna tough it out. Let's go to the Cheesecake Factory. My bad. But she was crazy.
It's danger and expectation. I think that's what we're learning. I think that we have to recognize that, it's okay to have some sense of like, oh, I would love if we went this place, but also have y'all set that parameters. Y'all just going on the first date, you should really be just trying to feel this person out.
Right.
And so, I'm more worried about my safety and other pieces when we going out on this first date, trying to make sure you're not cuckoo and such.
And that's why we're not going to stay 48. I'm not spending $200.
No. Because you might be a loony.
Just so
I'm
y'all
spending
know
$200 on a loony too.
200 ain't season.
I'll take you to the place. I'll take you to the place where they cook in front of you. Subway.
Eric, I was thinking you was going somewhere else.
A nice hibachi or something.
Golly.
They got the meat for you right there. They cook in front of you.
Golly.
I thought he was at least gonna say Waffle House.
We was ready. We were ready.
That ain't cooking. That ain't
If you don't eat Waffle House, we could never talk.
Okay,
Never.
because I'm going to eat that
Never
waffle.
gonna work.
So, guys, listen. What we're just saying is still practice great communication.
Yes.
Right.
Facts.
What are my red flags? Don't use me as your object of healing.
Okay.
Don't take advantage of me so
Yeah,
that you
I
can
love
move
that.
past somebody that you haven't moved past yet. Don't try to treat me down because you got brought down in your past relationship. Treat me like a human being and treat me like I actually want to be wanted. All right.
Right.
So now as we move into our final question, Junior, let's start with you. In this time, right? How do you maintain a relationship?
I know y'all gonna get tired of me saying this, but I think like communication. I know it's like sounds cliche, but I think that even as you were saying earlier, just really saying how you feel in those moments, regardless of if it's good or bad. But I think that that's like at the root of it all. If you are looking for something long term, that's fine. If you're looking for something short term during this cuffing season, that's fine as well too. But if you are not communicating that while you're out on the scene, how can you expect to get anything or get anything that's positive?
I love it. Yeah.
I love that. I think also for me, God must be at the center of your relationship. Recognizing that we may have kind of different variations of what our relationship looks like, but must be at the center of our relationship. Secondly, commitment. I think that one of my mentors used to say this, of love can be, depending on the season you are in your relationship, love can go back and forth. Some days you can feel really in love with that person. The other day you can be like, stay away from me. But my mentor was saying that what's important is that commitment piece.
Right.
Like, do you wake up every day and commit yourself to this person? Do you wake up every day and say, though I don't like how you acting right now, I'm committed to making this work. I'm committed to our highs and I'm committed to our lows. And then also I think it's important to have an unbiased, whether it's a therapist, like you said, couples counseling, or even if you're going through the church or whatever the medium may be, you need an unbiased sounding board of support that is not going to be counterproductive to your marriage. But sometimes it's helpful to have that space to be able to kind of process through emotions that you may be experiencing in the marriage.
Right. I think y'all single, but this is y'all on y'all way. Y'all right here, cuff them up. Right here.
I'm like nodding, like, oh yeah.
Cuff them up, because they got it. The thing. I love what you got. Right.
Doc, we got to get that started.
Yikes.
No, what you're saying is so accurate. Like communication. Now, I think we think about communication. We all know it's communication. But when you in the middle of being upset, that communication stuff kind of goes out the window.
Yeah.
Especially when, you're trying to communicate and you're, anticipating because, we run arguments through our head first.
Yes, we do. I'm a role player.
I'm going to, play this conversation. I'm going to play this argument out in my head before I even come talk to you about it. And so sometimes, communication is not as easy as just, say communicate. You have to really pick a partner that you feel comfortable with communicating with. And sometimes that does take time, getting to get to that, vulnerable place to say, that hurt my feelings. Instead of showing up to say, I'm mad at you because you did this, but to say, you know what, when you did that, I was saddened. And so I think people don't want to, especially in our community, we don't like to talk about, weakness. And they think that sadness or being upset is a type of weakness, but it's actually a real, emotion that we all have, and we have to be able to communicate that, what you did hurt my feelings. To do that, like she said, I don't love my husband every day. I'm committed to our marriage. I'm committed to our family. And so love can be one of those things where it can be a romantic feeling that can go up and down. Mm-hmm. Some days I'm not googly eyes over him, but some days I am. I'm like, oh my God, my husband's so fun, and ooh, you did this for me, and oh, you so sweet, or you know what, let me kiss your stinky breath. And so sometimes I am like that, but sometimes I'm like, I can't believe he left them dirty socks on the floor again. So love is a commitment piece. It's it's a verb, not so much of it can be emotion for sure, but also it's that what am I going to do to serve? What am I going to do to show that I'm committed? Those kinds of things. Couples counseling, I know me and my husband would not be where we are today if it was not for couples counseling. To have that mediator, to have somebody say, okay, this is how Ashley's feeling. This is how Tori is feeling. And so that just does wonders, and just being able to check in. And I think, as the church, we need to do better about talking more about marriage and family. And because so many young people are going through life not having those examples. Let's be honest, guys. Black people, we don't get married. We don't do it.
We shack up.
We have children, but we don't exercise marriage, and that's because we don't get to really see it. And so I think as a church, we need to start talking about it more. We need to start, exhibiting and showing that what it looks like to be a husband, what it looks like to be a wife. So when we do get into it, we're not like, oh my God, what is this? What is this? But
Jeff, home, brother.
Yeah, so I'd say, really, when you think about the Bible, right? For God so loved the world, He gave. And so oftentimes, I tell people, when you talk about relationships, what is it that? How do you all stay? We just crossed this 10 years, and the reason why, for me at least, I believe, is that we aren't selfish. Relationships. If you're in the cuffing season, and you want to just be in a season, then don't enter into a relationship, because relationships are not meant for selfish people. Right? So you can't be selfish and think it's going to be long term. It doesn't work that way. I'll never forget one of the advice I got from an elderly woman when I got married. It was, if you wake up and you always have your thoughts on her and her thoughts are always on you, there is no time for selfishness to enter into the marriage. And she said, people get divorced for selfishness. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It always boils down to selfishness. But she said, but because God loves us unselfishly.
Wow.
That's why God continues to love us and forgive us over and over and over. Because we serve an unselfish God. So if you are rooted in the Bible, if you're rooted in Christ, then you always should keep at the forefront that you serve a God who is not selfish. So therefore, that means because you have a relationship with an unselfish God, you should have relationships with other people that are not selfish as well. That doesn't mean you play boo-boo the fool, but what it means is that you look at it from an unselfish lens. And so for me, that is what grounds our relationship and grounds our marriage, is because my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions are always placed upon my wife. And trying to look at her. Doesn't mean we have bad days, but normally when it is, it's because I'm coming at it and thinking about what I'm getting out of something. And whenever I move myself out the way, then we're able to work on us. Because that's what matters. And so,
Yeah, I think that's important. It reminds me of Genesis with Adam. He couldn't do life alone. The importance of having somebody to grow with you, not to walk over them, but to grow with, to serve with, to be authentic with, and to be genuine with. I think the one thing that we've all been arguing tonight, fam, is if you're in a cuff or whatever you're doing, do it healthy. Don't go out being disruptive, destroying people, or even allowing yourself to get destroyed in the process, right? Because somebody can be doing something to you, and whatever you do, we just want you to do it healthy, be authentic, be genuine, Don't settle for nobody who is going to treat you less than. That's so important. Do not settle for some. I was literally just at dinner with my siblings on Saturday, and they was talking about their like high requirements, and I was like, wow. Like, y'all really not going to bring nothing down? They're like, nope. Don't settle for anybody who's going to treat you less than what you are worth, because you are valuable.
Amen.
Know that about yourself. Well, fam, time has went on. So far, we're at our hour. As we're heading out, we want to recommend to you a couple resources. There's 3 books. We love reading on here. I'm reading a book right now for preaching. I'm sure you all reading other books, but we have 3 wonderful books that we really do want to recommend to you, and we'll put them in the chat as well. The first book is 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. I'll repeat that again. I can't talk. 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Secondly, We Over Me by Kadeen and Deval Ellis.
That's a good one.
We Over Me by Kadeen and Deval Ellis. And then lastly, our very own Ashley wrote a book. Dear Sis, My Mess, Your Lessons. Real quick, can you share a quick promo since we have the author right here?
Thank you.
Right.
Dear Sis is my part self-memoir, part self-help book for some girls out there. It's, like it said, my messy experiences, your lessons. I went through some messy stuff, but I came out on the other side. Just wanting girls to know that, you know, there's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of black and white situations that we think it is, but it's lots of gray areas, lots of life nuances. I think I said that right. That we have to consider. And I don't want any girls to feel any guilt or shame behind some of their messy experiences, and letting you guys know that we've all been through something similar. We've all have gone through some breakups, some, you know, bad girlfriend situations. And it just gets the wheels turning at the end of each chapter on how you want to show up in the world. Dear Sis.
Get it, y'all. Dear Sis, My Mess, Your Lessons. As we're on our way out, we want to do 2 things. One, we want to remind you that at 8:15 we have our devotional prayer call tonight with our senior pastor, Dr. Scott. Be sure to look for that text message that's going to come through. Join at 8:15. You will be tremendously blessed by a great devotional and by prayer. But secondly, guys, can you believe it? This is our last CAYA for 2023. Now, as we go into 2024, we want to do something a little different. For all of you who are watching or who will watch later on, I want you to put into the chat what topics you want us to discuss all of 2024. Everything you suggest for us to discuss, we will discuss it. So put it in there. We're looking forward to seeing your comments, and we will plan accordingly. But fam, y'all have fun tonight.
It was
Great
good.
discussion.
Y'all enjoyed it.
We look forward to seeing y'all in January. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all later.
Not the piece. It gave us the vacation Bible school piece. It was giving the vacation Bible school. I was a BBSer, yes.
That was good, guys.
On the Insta cameras.